Welcome to the I'm In podcast, where you learn to unleash your creative genius, live a more abundant life, and change your world. And now, your host, Heather Hodges.
Today's guest has spent his career at the intersection of law, leadership, and compassionate care. As Chief Operating Officer of Brightmoor Hospice, Trey Reese has helped shape a culture where, in his own words, we are all walking each other home. He also serves on the board of the Georgia Hospice and Palliative Care organization, where he advocates for quality end-of-life care across the state. And on the Hodges 12, Trey is a cultivator, communicator, healer. Trey, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much, Heather. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, when we first were talking about you being on the podcast, first of all, you said I'm in, so thank you for that. And then we started talking about what would happen if a shark and a shrink walk into the podcast studio together.
Yeah.
We're about to find that out. So your background is in law and my background is in psychology. And when we met at the Georgia Hospice and Palliative Care organization annual conference, or was there summer LEAP conference, I think we just hit it off immediately. So thank you for saying I'm in and being on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah, we have a lot in common. So it was good to talk with a kindred soul.
Absolutely. Well, on the Hodges 12, you came out as a cultivator, a communicator, and a healer. And for listeners who haven't taken the assessment yet, a cultivator is someone whose creative genius shows up in just creating the environments where other people can do their best work and they can thrive and flourish. And of course, a communicator finds novel ways to make complex ideas clear and compelling. And then a healer addresses root cause problems, not just their symptoms, and helps people and organizations become whole again. And so when we put all of those three together, we get Trey Reese. You know, that's just a beautiful combination. And I'm curious, when you first saw your results, what was your reaction?
Well, not surprised. All those things felt really familiar. I think the reason we hit it off so much is we really believe in development, both ourselves and of others. And so those fell right in line with what I believe are the most important things. So my reaction was, it was pretty familiar. And when I read through all the descriptions, it just made a lot of sense. So that's what is a byproduct of, I think, working on yourself for so long. You do become pretty self-aware of kind of where you can't see your blind spots, but you kind of head in that direction to try and see them a little bit better every day.
Yeah. Before you took the Hodges 12 assessment, would you have considered yourself creative?
It's a good question. I don't know that I would describe myself exactly as be creative. I think it's more of just kind of being on the path somewhat to finding out new ways to do things, being aware of what works and what doesn't work, and just trying to do things a little bit better every day. So, I don't think I would describe myself as being creative.
Wow.
Or creator.
Yeah. But the idea of finding new and useful ways to solve problems, that resonates.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people don't consider themselves creative because we have such a narrow definition of, what is creativity. And a lot of people think, oh, it's, can you draw? And it's so much bigger than that.
Oh, it's huge. And I think that's what the benefit of taking the test is. You can really zone in on where those areas are that you didn't see before. So I think that was really helpful in taking the test and learning about these things that we don't know that we do that actually are meaningful and can help the world.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's like, how can we help other people, help the world, help create a better environment for others? Yeah. And speaking of that, so one of your creative genius types is the cultivator. And they often struggle to see their own work because it's invisible. It's developing people, it's cultivating environments, cultivating people. And so the output of that shows up years later, in people or organizations that they've developed. Do you think you ever discounted that part of your gifts as not being really creative?
For sure. It's, there's a large amount of faith in trying to help folks out. And you do have to wait for the results. They don't come overnight. And I think that's where you just have to, at some point, just believe that you're doing the right thing, that it is helpful. You get some feedback. You want to get some feedback along the way to make sure it is helpful. But then, it takes a very long time for those things that you sent out into the world, those seeds that you've planted in the hopes of cultivating later on, really come back. And you don't see it. And it is very easy to get discouraged and frustrated after a week or a month or even years. And then you see the magic 3 years, 5 years later when it comes back. And that's what gives you more faith to do it again and again. And so the earlier you start, the earlier you see returns, even if it is a long time. And for me, it gives me confidence every day that even if I don't see the results in a short amount of time, I just know I'm doing the right thing. It's like putting your bread out on the water. Just trust that it's going to come back to you at some point, and lo and behold, it does.
Can you point to a specific moment in your work recently where you can now clearly see all of your creative types working together in action?
Oh, absolutely. So we do these like recognition cards. We call them kudos cards. And so what we do is we do a little card. We fill out the name of the person that we're giving kudos to, and then we say something about them. And so recently, I got a kudos card from one of the folks who's been working here almost 2 years. She's the HR manager. And it all kind of blended together. And this is totally coincidental, by the way, that she just sent this in February. But she says, "I'm so grateful for the continued guidance and support you show to me. The longer I work here, the more I sound like you," which is a good thing most days. "Thankful for you always, truly." And she's been working out about 2 years. And so it is very gratifying to see that what we've talked about and what I poured into her in service of getting her to a place that's better for her has come back. And I think that's a very recent example of many that where you see the feedback and the positivity that comes out of helping people out.
Yeah. She sounds more like you as the days go by, and that's usually a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we like to have fun too. So I think that was a nod to most days that works out really well. So it's a good thing.
No, and you're that beautiful balance of that seriousness, but also that playfulness as well. And you haven't let your playfulness out, to play yet. But I know this about you, Trey, that you have that serious, leadership, attorney side of you, and you can crack up with the best of them too.
Well, you got to have it. If we're not having fun, then I don't want to show up.
That's right.
So if I'm not having fun, then others aren't having fun, then that's no place to be. So we have to really be aware of viewing things from a certain distance that makes most things humorous.
That's right. Yeah. And knowing you like I do, that cultivator part of you creates that culture around you in your organization where we've got serious work to do, but to your point, we have to have fun doing it as well. And that's when we want to show up and when we want to stay and give our best.
Right. And what we found is that we do have to be intentional about it, that it just doesn't come naturally, that you have to pay attention to it and put some time in our morning meeting where we have some fun, where that's reading a dad joke or it's just having something that's funny that's happened that we talk about. But you have to make it a part in a routine because it's something that can so easily get left behind. It's just like brushing your teeth. Everybody makes time to brush your teeth. This is one of those things that we think we have to make time for to do intentionally so that we do realize the benefits of it. So people come in looking to have a good time because they know something that is going to happen during this meeting that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, tell us about the work that you're doing right now. What are you building or leading that you're just really super excited about?
Super excited about being a continued part of this community, number one.
Yeah.
And what we're really trying to do is grow not for growth's sake, but to expand our influence and impact on the world in a positive way. And, when I joined Brightmoor in 2020, right before COVID, we were a certain size, smaller than we are now. And we've been growing ever since. And what I appreciate about our environment is that we have a place where everybody can feel safe and can show vulnerability. One of the things I really try to keep in mind that I want to build for others is what I want for myself. And I want to build a place, I want to be a part of a place where people can feel at home in their own bodies and at home in the world. Mm-hmm. So can they feel comfortable with themselves and who they are so they don't have to hide away their imperfections? Because we all have them. Everybody says, I'm not perfect, and yet we try to hide away our imperfections anyway. So we don't want to do that. It keeps us from the business at hand. And number two, we want to feel at home with each other so that we can be in community. And so as we went along, how do you keep that same culture, that feeling that we had when we were a quarter of the size that we are now, where we knew each other and we knew what was going on with our families and we knew about things that were important. And once we grow and expand, how do we keep that same feel? How do we keep that same culture of compassion, understanding of love, true love, and how do we keep that really as a part of our DNA? And it's been challenging because you get so far apart, it's hard to keep the important things important, and those are relationships and how we know each other. So really what I'm excited about is how do we build within ourselves, build the foundation so that we can go out and do more good in the world. And I think that's what excites me about every day, that gets me up and coming into the office, which is I have a chance to have a positive impact on somebody today. It's a really big deal. How can we spread that throughout everybody so they're looking for the same opportunities? And I think that's what the excitement comes from, just that opportunity to help folks out on a wider scale that we think we do really, really well.
Yeah. But you're articulating a tension that I think a lot of organizations experience, where they want to keep that human personal touch and maintain that culture that made them so successful in the first place, but then also expanding your reach, not for growth's sake, as you said, but just so that you can help more people. And that tension is real, isn't it?
It's huge. And you see it, you can see it everywhere where it doesn't work. People feel disconnected. They feel like no one cares. They're not seen or appreciated. And we're not perfect.
Right.
We're not perfect as individuals or as an organization. And yet that's what we are going to keep striving for because it is so important to us and to the people that we serve.
Yeah.
And how do you do it? And that's what I've been asking myself these last 6 years almost, which is, well, how do you really do it? I know the concepts. I know what it should look like, but how do you start making it more actionable? What do I have to do to change, to develop, to grow in order to give myself and others the best chance at staying together and on mission? Yeah. And I've learned a lot, mostly by failing. I fail every single day. And what I treasure is the people around me tell me that I missed it. Why do they feel comfortable in telling me I missed it? Because we've created an environment where it's possible, where something I said did not land so great with somebody. And they felt safe enough to tell me, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to hear it, by the way. I still didn't want to hear something that wasn't great. And yet that's the purest form of love, is when you tell somebody something they really need to hear, regardless of getting their feelings hurt. And I think that's what we're just trying to recycle every day. It's the little things that we tell each other. Number one, we love each other. Number two, that we need to tell each other something that may be difficult to hear, but it's in service of the love that we feel for each other. Yeah. And I could not be more grateful for the people that have helped me see my blind spot, see what I didn't see.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is return that to them in equal measure. because they've given me so much. And I think that's where the virtuous cycle gets into place, is when we do it individually, it works out pretty well. But when we do it together, we can become greater than the sum of our parts.
Mm-hmm. And then synergy takes over.
Yeah.
Well, what you're describing, that psychological safety of being able to give quality, candid feedback and learn from our mistakes. I love that. But then you're also adding that element of this is a true definition of love, like being able to share that feedback with somebody. I'm curious, how does that happen initially in your world? Do you overtly say to people, hey, look, I want you to give me the most candid feedback ever? Or do they just sense the permission is there? How does that happen, Trey?
Well, I think it's probably both. But I think you do have to be intentional about this is where we are going.
Yeah.
And we have to say, I need your honest feedback about how things are going with us, and not get upset with the messenger who's giving you that information, and welcoming it and saying, I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. I'm really glad that you're letting me know about this. It's really important. And again, when you first start doing it, it's, I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I had this look on my face. It was like, what? And at some point it's upsetting to hear those things. And yet when you have to remind yourself, it's like this ability to have mantras in your head at a moment's notice. They're doing it because they love me. They're not doing it because they don't love me. They don't want to play the gotcha game. They're interested in helping me do better. And when I remember that, everything just gets a lot better. What a gift to give somebody, right? To tell them what they need to hear. I mean, it's one of those things that can be so transformative. And those, I think, are the most transformative times I've had, is when somebody's told me, you're missing it, dude.
Yeah.
Get your head on a little bit better. And yes, of course, in the moment, I didn't like it. And it put my growth on hyperdrive.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And so I think you do have to tell people about these stories, those war stories, if you will, about I was not in a good place. Somebody helped me see where I wasn't, so that they can then do the same. And that it's okay because I grew from it. And I think that's the power of these narratives and these stories that we create for ourselves. It's not only the framing, but it's the reframing. Because I don't know that I would have been able to articulate that it was a gift the first time I had this feedback so many years ago. It's only with the benefit of hindsight that I saw the great things that it did for me. And I think it's what was originally something that wasn't so great became one of the greatest gifts I ever received. And so we have to talk about those kinds of things, to label it, to identify it, to then have people start catching that kind of way of thinking about things, from thinking about things as something that's an opportunity rather than something that is not so good.
Yeah. And I think also that when we give quality, candid feedback like that, and we make it safe with each other, then you get a reputation for giving good feedback and being a helper. And brother, you have that with me. You probably already know this, but like when we were on Jekyll Island at the GHPCO Summer Leap series, I asked you and Jen Elliott for some feedback. And you gave me great feedback, something that I hadn't thought about, and something that, keep that, eliminate that. And because you gave me such feedback, and we'd just known each other a day or two at that point, I'm like, this guy gives good feedback and he's a truth teller. I want feedback from him. And so when we were together again this last month, after a keynote that you graciously sat through, I came to you for feedback. So you've got that reputation now, at least in my mind, being a truth teller and somebody who's going to be a helper and give quality feedback so that other people can get better. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I wish you could give me feedback every keynote so I can just continually get better, because you do set that culture around you as somebody who does have that that cultivator mindset of helping other people. But I'm curious though, for you, when do you feel most alive in your work? Because you pour into people all of the time, but when do you come alive in your work?
So I think it's when I'm in locked in relationships with people. It's when you have this back and forth, this give and take, this listening, not to respond, but listening to understand.
Yeah.
And then a sharing of energy, a sharing of of ideas, really, of we have a goal over here and we're where we are and we need to go somewhere else, and how can we together co-create that journey? And when you get locked in with somebody, it's like a feel of like time has no meaning. It just, everything it fades into the background except your relationship with that person and being locked into a great conversation. And that's, I think it kind of is shades of some of the other greatest gifts is to know and to be known.
Yeah.
And so if I can know somebody on a deeper level and they can know me and we can have acceptance and love around that, then what else? That's one of the highlights that you can have in your life. And so I feel most alive and creative when somebody is on that same path with me at the same time, and we are searching for ways to achieve what we want to achieve, which is to have a profound and positive impact on others and on our world. And so it takes an openness. It takes a reduction of your ego, because my ego tells me from being a former and recovering attorney that I'm the man.
Yeah.
And the only thing that matters is my opinion versus somebody else's opinion. And that's not right. That's not correct. It's I need to subsume myself so that I can learn about somebody else first, and then allow that space for me to also share what's important to me. Yeah. And so I think for me, when we're engaged in that communal effort, there's nothing better.
Yeah. I love that, the co-creating, but so much of what you're talking about is that relational genius of being in relationship is when you feel most alive in your work with other people.
Yeah, it's a vulnerability, and when you're vulnerable, the fears that people can hurt you with what they now know about you. And I'm so fortunate to have folks around me in this, what we do now, which is already imbued with a lot of purpose and meaning, our line of work in hospice. So that's already there. We're just working with that. But they really sense they're empathetic naturally. And so it just builds on itself. But there is a large amount of vulnerability where every time I thought I was going to share something that was very close to me, and I was afraid of doing it, when I've done it anyway and shown courage, people have welcomed it and accepted it and understood. And gosh, again, there's nothing better than to be afraid to share something that is very personal, and yet people welcome it and say, it's okay. I understand. You're not perfect. You have doubts, you have fears, and you're not always on the right track, but I love you anyway, and we can do this together.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the questions that I ask people that I interview on the podcast and in my research is about the environment where they do their best creative work. So I'm curious about that for you. Like what conditions or what environments help you do your most creative work?
I think it's kind of something we've already touched on, but an openness. I think some of the things that really stifle creativity is this closed-mindedness, not being open to listening, not being open to others' perspectives. And so I think being in an environment where people are open to hear something maybe different from what they thought, and and really lean into trying to understand, being curious about somebody else's position or perspective. I think that's an environment that breeds more of the same. And what happens is we come up with all these great ideas. Some of them are great, some of them not so great, but we share and we support and challenge each other. And kind of do some testing in there. But that's the kind of environment I think allows myself and others to not worry so much about being judged for their opinion. It's, yes, acceptance. Let's work with it. And again, I always go back to the co-creation, because that's how we get things done. It's not just me, it's everybody together.
Yeah. And what a beautiful, just visionary thought that we are co-creating solutions and co-creating the future, co-creating a culture together. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, as a cultivator, communicator, and healer, you're probably really good at seeing potential in other people before they even see it or notice it in themselves. Do you do that intentionally, or how does that work for you?
I think there is an intent to listen, for sure. There's an intent to, when somebody says something, I'm listening to understand. I'm also listening for things that tell me where they are.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with that kind of way of thinking, because that's what you're looking for in your profession as well. It's like, hey, there are some signals or some signs along the way, some signposts that kind of can help you navigate where you think somebody else is. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but nonetheless, that's what you're listening for. And so I do it intentionally, listening intentionally and trying to understand the person, try to get out of my own head first and to meet them where they are, to catch those little things that I think I can build upon. And so you really have to listen to understand versus listening, I need to say something about the point that they just made.
Yeah.
It's like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You have all these random things, and where do you start? You have to start collecting them into colors or shapes, and you start putting the picture together, and you test it out along the way about what may work. So yeah, I think there's a lot of, it was very difficult at first. And it becomes easier as you practice it. So you can kind of catch something and then ask about that certain point, and then you kind of know if you're on the right track or not. Yeah. But everybody has greatness with them. It's there already. And what I tell folks is, you got everything you need right now to be successful in every way that you want to be. It's just a matter of unlocking it and being courageous enough to go test it out and to be experimental about it. And I think that's when we talk about the environment, we want people to do that, because if they do that and they can learn to do it more, then when they're with people who need our help, who need to reduce suffering and add joy to life, they can do it themselves and they become more skilled at it. And so I think it's all in service of being with people in a certain way when they need us the most at the end of life. Yeah, I think there's a large amount of intentionality about it, and with the goal being to help them first, not because they're a means to an end, no, but because it's good for them, and a byproduct is it's good for everybody, sure, but we're really trying to help the person I'm talking to live a better life. First, because if they live a better life, then they will be able to help others out in the ways that we think are the most important.
Well, you're already leading us there, and I'm curious. When you think about creating those environments where people can have the courage and to live into everything that they were created to be, and they have all of those gifts on board already. How do you, as a leader, nurture that kind of creativity in the people on your team? Is that just naturally you, Trey, or is there anything that you do intentionally?
God, I wish I could say this is a whole 100% nature. It is not.
Yeah.
And I think you have to spend time. Presence is key. Without time and getting to know somebody, it just doesn't work very well, in my opinion. And so there was a lot of trial and error to figure that out. I used to think that you could just tell people what to do and they would do it. And gosh, 100% wrong on that, right? And so others have to believe that you really do love them, period. If they don't believe that, nothing else matters. So how do you show it? You can't show it just by walking by.
Right.
You can't show it by spending the least amount of time that you can spend with somebody. You really have to spend time sitting and talking about things that matter, about things that don't matter. And so the intention, how do you, it's a simple concept, but it's not easy because we've all got things that like can get distracting. And I think that's where the hard work comes in, is you still have to do all the little stuff, which is show up, be kind, because everybody you meet is going through something you know nothing about. So
that's
be
right.
kind always. And then if we can start there with some gratitude, with some love, and then just build upon that, then I think it works out really well. So it's a skill that you have to remind yourself to do every day.
Yeah.
And most days I forget it. Most days I need to remind myself more than I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like everybody else. I've got a schedule and I've got things in my mind. I would rather be doing something else than what I'm doing right now. And yet, when you spend time with folks and you spend present, so non-distracted time with folks, that's the greatest gift we can give each other, is the gift of our attention. It's the purest form of love. And so after a while, we start feeling it together, and that's really when the magic happens.
Right. So presence, what a gift that is.
Yeah.
Because time is so precious, and being fully present with another human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all we have, really. So
no, truly.
The fact that we're spending this time together is an example of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, what a gift. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
No. Well, when we think about creativity, and this is in your profile when you take the Hodges 12, what is creativity? Heather, how do you define that? Creativity is just the production of novel and useful ideas that can solve complex problems, and it leads to innovation, which is the implementation of those ideas. And that's the hard part. I think coming up with ideas can be hard too. And then we have to filter them and discern, is this a good idea or is this a back burner idea? And in your field in hospice, I'm curious, what role does creativity play? Because I don't think people might not expect, can we get creative in healthcare in hospice? What would you say to that?
We need more. So I 100% agree that I think it used to be a very rote and routine thing, this thing we call healthcare. You went to a certain place, you saw a certain person, a procedure happened, advice was given, you left, and then you rinsed and repeated. And times have changed.
Right.
The world has changed. And for us to continually try and go back and put a round peg in a square hole is not working. It is not working. With the advent of all these great technologies, we still have suffering in the world. Why? It's because we're disconnected. I mean, that's just what the studies show. I mean, it's just scientific that, what's taking us away from each other in isolation is we're not connected anymore. Yeah. So what we are in a people business. Technology is great, but we still have to hold people's hands when they're dying. We have to be there to show that love, to show that empathy, to show that compassion. And so we need more creativity because every situation is unique, right? Every time one of our folks walks into an environment, they need to do something slightly different than what they did before. And so to be able to develop that skill of creativity, like to fit the situation in service of the goal of reducing suffering, increasing the amount of joy in that, then you have to do something different. That takes creativity.
Right.
What might that be? Well, it's the things we've talked about: listening to understand, listening to what people are responding to or what they're not responding to, having that self-awareness, that's that emotional awareness. It's practicing it, and then being able to pivot when needed to do something different. And if we can, individually as a group, wider society, do more of that, then just think about all the amazing things that could happen. When we're with each other in a very intentional, present, loving way, accepting of what people are going through, and we can hold their hand throughout it all. I mean, what can't we accomplish together? And that's where the innovation that you mentioned, how do we do it in many different ways so that we can draw upon the skills that we have in the moment to fit the situation. And that's the essence of creativity.
Right.
Is coming up in the moment, being brave and courageous enough to try something new and see what happens. Yeah. Even if it doesn't work, knowing how to recover from it. And
learn from it.
And, hey, you know what? I said this a little while ago. It looked like you had a reaction. Can we check that out and talk about what may have happened with you? And they can either tell you or not, but at least you create an environment where it might be possible to have greater understanding.
Yeah.
And that is a skill that we can all develop because we've all got it within us.
Yeah, everything you're describing, technology, AI are great tools, but what you're talking about can never be replicated by technology. That it has to be human to do the things that you're talking about, to have that presence, the nurturing care, the thoughtfulness, hey, let's imagine something different right now.
Absolutely. And I'm convinced it is the best thing to do. And I'm also convinced that I have to, as a leader, and by leader, I mean the people that allow me to be where I am, because I would not be where I am without the people that let me be here.
Right.
Which is the people that rely upon me to lead, that I have to do it myself first. And that is a really hard part. And I think that's what sometimes gets missed in development and growth is it always starts with you first.
Yeah.
It's always a better me plus a better you equals a better us, but it starts with me. And if I can't show it, if I can't walk the walk, talk the talk and walk the walk, nobody's going to believe me anyway. And so I have to really be serious about making myself better and growing myself before others will allow me to lead them to do the same thing.
I love it. And we are the hardest people we will ever lead. Like we've got to do the work in ourselves first before we ever step up and are gifted with the opportunity to lead other people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in your experience, what gets in the way of all that? What kills creativity and innovation before it even has a chance?
Well, this is where I will give credit where credit is due. That's the reverse brainstorming is a great way to think about that. The concept you introduced and we talked about earlier, which is doing something that's you want a goal that's the exact opposite of what you say you want, and you do create the perfect storm, right? And I think that's where it helps me to think about, well, what stifles creativity is closed-mindedness. Yeah. It is rejection of change. It is all these things that we know are toxic traits that we allow ourselves to show that stifle the openness that we are looking for. So it's dismissiveness, judgments about people's opinions. It's all these things that just totally get in the way. It's for me, I have a little bit of a tendency to add value where it doesn't really need to be added, because I think I'm pretty smart and I think I can make any idea better. And I'm going to tell you about it.
That's a nice reframe for being a Budinsky.
You better believe it. Thank you. I'm glad you know.
You're welcome.
Yes. because when somebody comes with an idea and I add to it, it's no longer their idea. It's something that I added to. And so I really did a poor job of that. I still do it every once in a while, just not as much. And I always do it to some extent because I'm human, and it's just, and yet that's what gets in the way of creativity is if somebody comes to me and I add value to the idea, then they're not going to do it again. They're not going to be, I'm just going to shut them down because every time they say something, I'm going to add to it and it's no longer their idea that they're excited about.
So then they feel closed down.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so the next time if I do that more often, then they're just going to say, well, every time I mention something to Trey, he says something, well, it's good, but it could be better if you just, and so I'm just not going to bring it to him. I'm going to close myself off. Yeah. And so starting with no, that won't work. There's a horrible way to stifle creativity. There's a good way to stifle creativity. So I think those are some examples about like just stopping it before it even has a chance to start.
Yeah.
Is when you get in those behavior patterns.
And what you're describing, Trey, though, is also being aware of your own blind spots, that you know this about yourself, that you have the tendency to add value. And you're thinking like, I'm just building on this brilliant idea. Let's take it and make it better. But knowing that about yourself can also shut down somebody else's creativity. Is that what I hear you saying? Exactly.
And I don't know that I don't know where I caught that.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of things that you learn, you don't quite remember where you learned them. And yet there they are. And so I'm happy that I learned that. I loved at one point in my life sarcasm. I loved being sarcastic. And a bunch of things happened where people told me that they just didn't appreciate it. And again, I'm being mild in my terms about what they told me because it was a lot more forceful than that. And finally, I figured out that I probably just shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, every once in a while I do. But again, it's not about being perfect. It's about trying to do better the next time that has value. And so, yeah, sometimes you get smacked in the face. Sometimes it's a little more subtle, and yet it's there. The feedback is there if you want to receive it. That's the openness that we need, is to be more willing to accept that we're missing it. And we can do better. It's okay to do better too. Not too late.
Yeah, and then there's your communicator genius coming out too. Like you've got the gift of observing the ridiculous and using that in a sarcastic way, but then also, you know, what's our audience? Does somebody like to joke around like that? And the sarcasm, some people do and some people don't. Yeah. Yeah,
and there are some, you know, I've learned so much just by putting my foot in my mouth.
Same.
All the war stories I have are about me making some pretty big mistakes and learning from them, which people love to hear about, right?
It makes us human.
That's part of the fun. And we, you know, and what was shameful to me back then, I was able to, you know, again, over the years, started sharing more and more about where I failed in pretty significant ways. And then it becomes kind of fun because it is funny. It is. This whole thing that we call life is a bit ridiculous at times. And so why not go ahead and reframe some of the learning that we've had very painfully into something that's not so hard? Because if we continually make these things and these learnings hard, then we won't want to learn. We'll be stuck. And again, that's where I think I'm really grateful that you notice that that's a part that really makes relationships better, that humor, that having fun, part of it, because it should be fun. This life is amazing. It's a gift and it is fun. Let's just do more of that.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Well, Trey, what would you say to the person who's listening right now to this podcast who is just convinced they are not creative?
Well, at first I say you're wrong. So that might be something that somebody needs to hear. But no, I believe that the creativity is with us because of who we are as humans, and it is built into our DNA, and it's just a matter of accessing it more than anything, removing the barriers, trying to identify what's getting in the way, and just taking that out of play. And you can do it, and you can do it. It's not impossible, so it must be possible. And so just find that way, whatever works for you. And what I really appreciate about your system is it allows you to identify where you actually are creative. And, as I was reading through the Cultivator, the Communicator, the Healer, I learned something in your descriptions about all of these things, about where you are at your best, where it can become not so great. I circle those too, right? It becomes toxic when, okay, I'm guilty as charged. And it's okay because it's something that it's not you, it's just something that happens and you can be okay with it. And I think that's what's very helpful is to, number one, being self-aware about where taking something like what you put out is really helpful to see where I am actually creative. And then just build upon that. So you absolutely can do this 100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the kind words about the system, the framework that I've built. And I'm so glad that it was useful for you. And I truly hope it's useful for other people, because I think identifying and naming how we solve problems and how we use our creativity to, work with the world, I think it changes things for people. It gives us more confidence and the ability to take more creative risks and just to use our gifts fully. And that's what you're talking about. And that's what I hope for the world too, like other people who hear this podcast.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, Trey, this has been such a fun conversation, but before I let you go, my research assistant, Percy, the I'm in penguin, has a couple of questions for you. So I'm going to let Percy in. Are you up for a few Percy questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Come on in, Percy. All right. Percy just handed me a couple of questions. And the first question comes from a friend of yours, a mutual friend of ours, from a previous guest, Jen Elliott.
Jen, yes.
Yeah, we know Jen. Yeah. And Jen wants to know, when was a time that you noticed all of a sudden, like a bulb of light just going off, that you are creative?
So a moment where I realized, light bulb flashing, that I was creative.
Yes.
Gosh, I would say that there was a time where a colleague was struggling and kept on coming back to me for reassurance, which, there's never enough reassurance, right? You want more, you can always want more. And so I think I realized that's what, she didn't say it in those words, right? We were talking and she said, and I picked up on the fact that what she wanted was reassurance. And how can I talk about that there's not enough reassurance to go around ever? What's really going on behind the scenes, right? So I really felt like I connected the dots in real time to look beneath what was going on to what was being said to what was really going on with her. She was nervous that she wasn't confident enough about her abilities, which I certainly was very confident in her abilities.
Yeah.
And that's what she was looking for. And I think that's where the realization that I could listen to understand, transfer a concept that was a big concept and make it real, make it simple, make it understandable, and give it back to her. That was creative. It was taking something that wasn't obvious and then making it real and an insight that she admitted later on, years later, that really helped her.
Wow. What you just described is your trifecta in action. So the healer genius in you went straight for the root cause, like what's under the surface, and then finding out a way to communicate it clearly for her so that you can create this environment where she can have that confidence and overcome whatever internal barriers they are. I mean, that is the cultivator, communicator, healer in action.
Wow. I didn't even realize that.
Beautiful story. That's why everybody's creative, and we need everybody's creativity because we all approach it just a little bit differently.
Right.
That's so important. Wow. Thanks for sharing that with us, Trey.
Very well.
Well, Percy's second question for you is, what question would you like to ask a future guest?
Question I'd like to ask a future guest. I'm always interested in where people think they're growing edges, what they're working on. So I guess I'm always curious about that. So where's your growing edge? Where are you putting the work into?
Love it.
Yeah.
What a fantastic question to ask. So thank you for that. Well, Trey, thank you for being on the podcast today. Where can our guests find you?
I'm really nowhere to be found. I try to stay off as much as I can. So I don't really have any platforms that I do anything on. But always welcome to call or write. Happy to and talk with anybody who wants to talk about this kind of stuff. It's so important and would love to help. Great.
Well, thank you, Trey. Thanks for saying I'm in and being on the podcast today.
I cannot be more grateful for you asking me to be a part of it. Just a wonderful experience, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Awesome. And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. And if you haven't followed this podcast yet, please hit that follow button and you will be the first to know when a new episode drops. And I would love it if you would leave a review. It helps more people find us and join the conversation. So until next time, keep saying I'm into creativity and bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.